Okay, so this pointed inferior end of the heart is the apex, which is at the end of the left ventricle. Up here on the opposite end, so the superior end, would be the base, which is formed by the right and left atria. This side will be our anterior side, and if we flip it over here, this will be the posterior side of the heart. These two little things over here are the auricles, which are pouch-like extensions on the atria. Okay, so looking from an anterior view, over here will be the right ventricle, and over here will be the left ventricle. Ventricles are the lower chambers of the heart that are on each side of it. Okay, right here, this little groove is the interventricular sulcus, and if we turn it around, there's also one right here through the middle on the back. So this little hole here is the pulmonary artery, and the one right above it is the aorta. And the aorta is a large artery that emerges from the left ventricle. Another function that it has is that it distributes blood to the systemic circulation. Right here we have the interventricular septum, and this is the muscular wall between the left and right ventricles. So right here we have the tricuspid valve, which is the valve that's between the right atrium and the right ventricle, and it's called tricuspid because there's 3 cusps. Okay, so right here you'll see we have these string-like structures. These are called the chordae tendineae, and the chordae tendineae are fibrous cords that connect the bicuspid and tricuspid valves with papillary muscles. Papillary muscles are muscles that anchor the chordae tendineae to the valves. Okay, so if we look on the inside of this wall right here, we'll see a bunch of ridges or folds on the walls of the ventricles, which are called the trabeculae carnae. Okay, so we enter here, which is the inferior vena cava, and that is the large vein that returns blood from the lower body regions to the right atrium, which is over here. We then go down the tricuspid valve and past the chordae tendineae and the trabeculae. After that, after we pass through the valve, the right AV valve will shut, and then we will head to the pulmonary artery through the pulmonary semilunar valve. Okay, the pulmonary semilunar valve is a valve between the aorta and the left ventricle and between the pulmonary trunk and the right ventricle. And over here, this little opening, this is our pulmonary artery. Right over here we have the pulmonary trunk, and if we flip this around and look right over here, this is where the pulmonic semilunar valve will be located. Right over here we have the brachiocephalic trunk, which is the branch of the aorta that splits to form the right subclavian artery and right common carotid artery. Okay, so we start over here in our pulmonary veins, down to the left ventricle, into the left AV or bicuspid valve, which is the atrioventricular valve between the left atrium and ventricle, and it is also called the mitral valve. Then we head down, go back up through our semilunar valves, and go out through our aorta up here. We have the coronary artery, and it is the artery that comes from the aorta that supplies blood to the heart muscle.